Hello everyone, this is Helios Raven. I tell you how I do it, even if you don't care. And Happy New Year to everyone. Hope you had a really good weekend and that your week started out well. And to kick off the new year, we're going to do a video that was actually requested about a couple of weeks ago of a size comparison with Battlefleet Gothic, so you get an idea of what the models, how large the models are in comparison to, say, some of the others. So what we're going to compare the models with is a jar of paint right here and a commissar model, because that was the only model I have on hand right now that's that I can get that's about the average model size. So that's what we're going to sit there and compare them to, and to give you guys a little bit of a ratio of how far away I am, like right here where my hand is standing, that is 1 foot away from the lens. So I'm 12 inches, so my hand right now is standing 12 inches away from where the desk is that they're sitting on. And we're using my Imperial Navy vessels, mostly because the Imperial Navy are roughly the standard size. Like, they're like the standard, they don't get really much bigger than them in terms, like some of them may be wider and such, but their length and their length and their width and all that, they tend to follow them as their basic maximum guidelines and are usually either smaller or the same height. So we're going to go with these guys. And so the first up, we're going to start with smallest to tallest, and I tried to get them all the same flight stand. And so we go and sit there, and we have our commissar standing right here, and we're going to zoom in a little bit with the help of these models here. Okay, and the first one is going to be a Cobra class escort. This is probably the tiniest really you'll get. I think an orc vessel may be a little bit smaller, but it's such a small difference that you'll still get the rough idea. But this is a Cobra class standing next to the paint jar and the commissar model. And now if we actually take him off the stand and place him on the tip of his thing there. So like there he is compared to the paint jar. And get him right next to the commissar. If he's standing, see if I can, there we go. So he's really tiny, like he doesn't go up past the head of the commissar model. And this is like I said, this is most likely the smallest you're really going to find most of the escorts in the game. And the next one up is the Firestorm. He's probably one of the more larger escorts. So you got him right there, next to the commissar and the paint jar. Then these guys are about a little bit like thinner. They're definitely thinner than the models, than the paint and the model itself. And this one, when we take him off the flight stand, you can see he's just a hair bit taller than the paint jar. And if we bring him up next to the Commissar Lord, you know, he's a good, maybe half a head taller, so taller than him. And he's standing up, like if you put him on a stand, he's probably about as tall as a Terminator, comparing him next to the Commissar. But standing him up on the base stand, he's just a little bit smaller there. And the next size up is the cruisers. And these guys, like those models that we just saw were pewter models. The cruisers are the only ones where you'll really find plastic ones. There are exceptions like Eldar. All their ships are pewter. And Chaos, some of them are pewter with plastic mixed in and such. So, but on general, most of the time your cruisers, except for the few exceptions like the Eldar and I believe the Tau and the Necrons, are usually plastic. But actually that's kind of ridiculous. Actually thinking about it, I think Chaos and Imperial Guard are really the only ones that have non-pewter cruisers. Probably because they were probably thinking that was going to be the most popular force, and so they wanted to make them as easy to mass produce as possible. But there they are standing next to the guy. We'll bring him down a little bit. So we get... Okay. And if we sit there and if we take them off and compare them height-wise, so you can see from the distance that we are from them, I have to zoom out a little bit. So there we go. And that's their height. He's roughly about maybe 2 paint jars tall compared to both of them, which is, you know, a little bit, which is fairly tall comparatively, next to the escorts, so you can see a dramatic height difference right there, whereas the other two were just around the paint jar's height, and this one passes by it by a fairly good distance. And the last one on our list is the battleships. Most battleships are going to be pewter with plastic bits in them. And like there he is standing next to them. Let's see, bring them widthwise. So you can see he's probably about maybe 2 commissars wide. Like you can wide, or maybe about a paint, and he's about a paint jar and a half wide. And then when we get them out here, he is, stand them up. He is about 2.5 paint jars high. Like, he towers over these guys very much. Like, the battleships are the biggest models in the game. Especially in the Imperial and Chaotic forces, they tend to have the longest, tallest ships in them, or longest because that's what they're really more going off of. And so that's really mostly it for the ship size comparisons. I really can't think of any other a really good way of comparing the height except for comparing them next to the models. But one thing I will say also, which is great about their height going off of their sizes, they are so small, sorry about that, that I actually fit them in a gun case that I bought for $10 at Dick's Sporting Goods. There's the gun case right there, and looking at it from here, let's bring this up so you can see a little bit better. It pretty much holds my entire force of my Adeptus Mechanicum. I get the 2 cruisers, right there. I can get another cruiser right in here. It's a little chaotic right now because of all these little objective markers that I got for my ordnance markers and such. Let's see, what's great is these little tiny escorts, they practically just fit in the little hole in the egg crate. And then the ships can pile in on top of them. That's a really nice thing about a gun case for storage on them, is the fact that they can pretty much dogpile on each other and still fit with relative comfort. And you don't really have to worry about, I've dropped these things a couple of times, I've plopped them on the table and such, and the models haven't been phased by them at all. The only exception with fitting an entire force in this gun case is depending on what you're actually getting. I've purchased a lot of Eldar cruisers and escorts, so I just got so many that I have to get another case for some other models that I have for it. And I put the whole thing up, and there you go. Sent $10, I can plop it around and stuff like that, and there's no problem with it. So don't have to really worry too much about that. And so, like I said, so it's like said $10 from Sporting Goods. It's a single handgun case. It holds one handgun, standard size handgun, and you know, after putting all that abuse on them, they're still fine. And like I said, they fit nice and comfortably. And what's great is the egg crates holes are just large enough where the wings of the ships fit them in just nicely, and like I said, the little tiny escorts just fit inside those little holes. So they take up like next to no room, which is really awesome. And that's really all I can say about it. I hope this video was useful. And if you have any other questions or comments, please feel free to leave a comment in the on the video page here for now. And that's it for our first video of the new year. I hope the rest of your week goes well, and until next time, this is Helios Raven, signing off.